All right. Well, hey, welcome in everybody to our Start with Safety this month for May. My name is Cameron. For those of you that don't know me, I do the Occupational Safety Training Program here for the Utah Safety Council. Just a couple housekeeping things I want to go over before we get started here. We are in a webinar session, so if you're trying to figure out how to get your camera turned on, it won't work for you. Your camera is going to be turned off and you will be muted as an attendee. If you do need to contact us or you have questions you want to relay to Paul, just use your chat function or the Q&A function. It's going to be located at the bottom of your screen there. If you just click on there, put that in, we're going to be watching that so we can respond to anything in there. If you have any questions, you can also reach out to us after the seminar as well. We've got Paul talking to us today. Paul Riley is one of our instructors here. I was really kind of a Swiss Army knife of instructor. He brings a lot of different experience in, and I'm sure he'll tell you about that a little bit as well. But he teaches courses here from Nfpa into our mining and refinery and some of our other occupational safety courses as well. So today we're going to be talking though about the Nfpa 70E standard. For those of you that don't know, that it's standard that is updated every 3 years. We're in 2021 now, so that's the reason we did want to do an update, just kind of discuss some of the changes, things like that. But with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Paul and let him take it from here. All right, thanks, Paul.
Great. Thank you, Cameron. It's good to be here with everyone. Just a little background on your instructor here today, or the presenter. Some of you may, or I may know some of you because we've met at safety conference. I've been in Utah for quite a few years as a safety and health professional. And I currently work for Ag Reserves, Inc., which is a large multinational agriculture company, but I spent a few years in the electrical industry back in early 2000, kind of when NFPA 70E was starting to become a little bit well known. In fact, as a safety professional for 30 years, the first 10 years of my career, I didn't even know it existed. I didn't specialize in electrical. I was in mining and insurance and risk management, and so didn't really have an opportunity to dive into the standard. So it really wasn't until I was a safety manager for a large electrical contractor in the Valley that we really became aware of this and actually had some incidents ourselves with arc flash. And so for those of you not familiar with this standard, it's a consensus standard. I'll talk a little bit about the difference between the consensus and standard and OSHA regulations, but this really is a standard to help protect workers that work on equipment when they're in what we would call an abnormal condition. And so a normal condition is what the National Electric Code is for. That's what it does. It puts electrical components in a normal condition in the workplace. And that's putting panel covers on to running wires in conduit. Basically, a normal condition means that when I turn the light switch on or we turn the power on, no one can be exposed to electrical. It's those employees that put electrical systems into an abnormal condition is what really causes the hazard. And that's where most of you are familiar with lockout, tagout, and this standard does talk a little bit about that. And so I just kind of want to give you an overview. For those of you who have not heard of NFPA 70E, I think this will be a great, just kind of an overview of what this standard is about. And for those of you who are familiar with the standard, we'll have an opportunity to kind of review what are some of the new things that the 2021 standard is bringing to the table that the 2018 standard didn't. So we'll just talk about some of those changes. So just real quickly, this is really, hold on a second, let me get to the right screen here. There we go. It's about arc flash exposure too. I mean, this is, OSHA does not mention arc flash at all in any of their standards. They were written in the 1970s. It does say protect your workers from electrical hazards, but arc flash isn't mentioned. It's become more and more prevalent, arc flashes and blasts and these injuries. And a lot of it's because we have more electrical equipment. We're using a lot more electrical equipment. And because we're using even more electrical equipment, other equipment is becoming outdated. And so that's where we start running into the hazards associated with arc flash and what can actually cause arc flash. And so this course talks about some of the causes of arc flash and the characteristics of arc flash. It's a high intensity flash. It can reach up to 35,000 degrees Fahrenheit, can cause pressure waves that can reach up to 200 pounds per square inch and pretty much obliterate metal and electrical equipment. And this is all in milliseconds. It's just a very powerful blast. And it can be done on a small, arc flash can happen on a small scale, where it might just blow a hole in your pliers if you do the wrong thing, to a massive explosion like what you're seeing here. So Very dangerous, very hazardous. I'll share at the end a situation that happened with one of our employees at the end. But arc flash effects, it can cause burns, broken bones because of the pressure wave, vision damage because of the arc flash, which is why some of the PP that I'll talk about later requires that you have an arc shield. Hearing loss, which is why hearing protection is required when you're working on electrical in an abnormal condition that is not locked out and tagged. Brain and internal injuries, punctures and lacerations, as well as ultimately death can occur. So what are some of the causes? And this is what we'll cover in the training as well, is we'll talk about how improper training and work procedures are a factor. Tools can be dropped accidentally. OSHA requires that you always use insulated tools out there when you're working on electrical. But there's a lot of electricians and maintenance employees that don't choose to use insulated tools. And so they're using non-insulated, which can actually cause arc flash if it hits the wrong spot. Installation failure can cause it. Even just simply doing voltage testing, troubleshooting, if you're using the wrong voltmeter and someone isn't experienced, that can result in causing arc flash. Not maintaining equipment where there's a buildup of dust or corrosion. Again, remember we talked about we have a lot more equipment out there that's older. And we may not be properly maintaining it, or when we're maintaining it, maybe we're doing it while it's energized instead of de-energized. And then, of course, racking in breakers and replacing fuses. But again, all these things we discuss in a little bit more detail in this course. And probably one of the biggest things that I see is, which is why most of us see incidents happen on the job, any incident, whether it's electrical or not, it's just that we get overconfident. And a lot of electricians and maintenance professionals work around electrical a lot, and sometimes they get a little too comfortable and complacent, a little overconfident, maybe not follow the right procedures, and that can result in arc flash and losses. So what does OSHA say? We will talk a little about that in the course as well. There's not a lot on arc flash and that kind of stuff in the OSHA regulations. It does talk a little bit about maintaining equipment and tools and using insulated tools and try not to work on electrical equipment, energized, encouraging you not to. But really, why is it that you want to then, if we have the OSHA regulations, why would someone want to go through the 70E course? And why would somebody want to implement the 70E? Because the OSHA regulations are required. They're mandated. The 70E course, this is a consensus standard that many companies have adopted. And that's why you would want to get it. First of all, you may be working as a contractor for a company that has adopted the 70E standard. But why would you as a company even want to adopt it if it's a consensus standard? What a consensus standard is made up of a bunch of professionals who know what they're doing. It's easier to pass consensus standards than it is regulations under the OSHA standard. So we call a lot of consensus standards best practices if they haven't been adopted by a city or another organization or even OSHA, because OSHA can adopt Nfpa standards as well as National Electric Code standards as well. But so this is why you should be serious about it, is because NFPA 70E, I see it as the how-to manual. So OSHA tells you need to protect your employees, but it doesn't tell you, OSHA does not get into, well, what level of PPE should I wear if this type of energy could come off this piece of equipment? Or what PPE should I wear if this higher energy comes off over here? There's really no guidance. All OSHA says is protect your employees, have them wear PPE, but if they're wearing the wrong PPE because you didn't know any better, then that employee could be injured and seriously injured. And so again, the 70E is kind of the how-to manual. It really gets into, hey, this is the energy that comes off of this. This is what you're supposed to do with electrical. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that, but it's kind of the how-to. So let's get into kind of just the 70E. This is where I'll address kind of what's in it at a high level and also maybe point out some changes. So 70E, first of all, has different sections, and they're called articles. And so there's only there's Article 100, there's Article 105, 110, 120, and 130. Those are really the main ones that I cover that I have covered in the course, or the most critical. And 130 that I'll kind of cover at the end here, give you a high level overview, is probably kind of the meat of what you would want to know in the event Your employees need to work on a system in an abnormal condition. And I like how 70E has done it in that they've placed it in an order, kind of like us safety professionals, how we like to control risks. We first look at our substitution or elimination or engineering controls first. And then we look at administrative controls if none of those are feasible. And then we look at PPE. That's kind of what 70E has done with their program, is they kind of start you off in Article 100 talking about a bunch of different definitions. These are some of them that we would cover. And then it kind of goes over the safety program and engineering and lockout, tagout, basically everything to eliminate the hazard. And then in 130 is, okay, if you've tried all of this, then as a last resort, this is how you protect your employee if you do have to work on something energized. And that's really what this standard is about, is encouraging you to do it de-energized and put it in what we would call an electrically safe mode. But if you absolutely cannot, or it's not feasible, then this is what you should do to protect your employees if you want them to go home at the end of the day. It's really important to understand that this standard was written not to eliminate all injury. It was written to prevent an employee from getting more than a second-degree burn. It will not be able to protect against broken bones because you just don't. If you have to work on something energized, we're not going to put people in specialized PPE. They wouldn't even be able to move if we put them in the PPE that would need to protect them from getting thrown against a wall from an arc flash or blast. But it keeps them alive. And so that's what the intent of this standard is. So they don't get more than a second-degree burn is what it talks about. So this is just section 100 talks about definitions. I'm not going to go over line, but we do talk about the three different main boundaries that you can be in. And I actually have a chart that I'll show you here in just a minute with regards to that. But Article 105 talks about responsibilities. What are the employee's responsibilities and what are the employees' responsibilities with regards to this standard? 110. So let me get into the 110. 110 is kind of the first main section after you talk about some minor stuff. So 110 really is this section saying, do what you can to find your risks throughout your facility, your electrical risks, and eliminate those hazards. And this is actually new in 2021. They never had this, they call it priority. And it basically says hazard elimination shall be the first priority in the implementation of safety-related work practices. They just decided we're going to put this in the very front of what we want everybody to be doing. So that is new, never been in the standard before. 10.2 is also new, where they talk about putting something in an electrically safe work condition and that it meets Article 120. If you remember, I said this has different articles, 100, 105, 110, 120, and 130. 130 is working on stuff that that is not locked and tagged. 120 goes into detail of lockout, tag out. So this section is basically drawing your attention, hey, make sure that if you're going to work on equipment and you can't eliminate the hazard, then make sure you meet what's in Article 120 or the lockout, tag out section of 70E. This is also new, putting something in an electrically safe work condition. Actually, they kind of moved it around and moved it up to the very front. Energized electrical conductors and circuit parts operating at voltages equal to or greater than 50 volts shall be put in an electrically safe work condition. That's not just de-energized. Electrically safe work condition is the full lockout, tag out. And so they just wanted to reiterate all this stuff right up front. So they changed this in 2021. This one was moved from Article 130 at the very end to put it up in the front, basically saying, hey, again, don't use just excuses. It's convenient, so we're not going to de-energize. OSHA actually has this in their standard, in their 1910 standard, but Nfpa clarifies it even just a little bit more. I love what they've done to clarify it. But basically, if you can demonstrate that de-energizing introduces additional hazards and increased risk, then you can consider doing something energized. And they give you a list of things that you can do. Obviously, some troubleshooting cannot be done. It's infeasible to do it de-energized. And so therefore, you need to do that. And so it talks about how you can do that safely. But they move this up to the front. And then what electrical safety program has always been in section 110, but it used to be right at the front at 110.1, but they moved it halfway after talking about all these other more important things they felt were important. And then they said, oh, by the way, you should have an electrical safety program written, which most of you do. You probably have a lockout tagout program. You probably talk about just a general electrical safety, but they're asking you here to, and they list all these items that you see here on the screen are things that they've listed in the standard that you should have in your written electrical program that you may not have there already, that address some of the things that they talk about in 70E. And now some of this stuff, you know, and then I've put new next to some of the things they've added since previous years of what they wanted in there. So Article 120. So that was 110. 120 is basically their lockout tagout section. It's kind of really no different than OSHA's. There are a few more details in there, but if you're following OSHA's lockout tagout program, you should be in compliance. They do go into a little bit more detail about talking about simple lockout tagout, complex lockout tagout, and making sure that you verify and you test to make sure it truly is an electrically safe mode. We typically don't go into a lot of detail in this section because most people pretty much have lockout tagout down. But it's a good, it's only a couple of pages long, but it's a good section. So then this is where most of the course is typically spent on, is helping people understand what Article 130 is. And this is basically involving work when you cannot put it, it's not feasible to put it in an electrically safe condition. And then they added something new. They said safety-related work practices shall be used to safeguard employees from injury while they are exposed to electrical hazards from electrical conductors that are or can become energized. So again, they just put a little emphasis in this section, and that was something new they added this year. So let me kind of share with you just some of the things that 130 talks about. This was new in 130 that they added at the very beginning. So they said when energized electrical conductors are not put into an electrically safe condition or locked and tagged, and work is performed as permitted, all of the following shall apply. Only qualified people and trained people can do that. You must have a permit. Now, there is an exception on the permit. I'll talk about that in a minute. A shock risk assessment should have been performed, and an arc flash risk assessment should have been performed. So we do talk about, well, how do you do these assessments and why do we need to do that? And I think it'll make more sense here for those of you not familiar with the standard. But let's talk about the permit one first that they mention. So most companies who follow 70E require that you have what we call an energized electrical work permit. When I was in the early 20s, it was called a hot work permit, and then it got confused with welding and cutting and other hot work permits because a lot of electricians refer to working on energized panels as hot work. So we kind of had to change that so there wasn't confusion. So they've kind of gone to just energized electrical work permit is what it's called. So when anybody's working within that restricted approach boundary, which I'll show you here in just a minute what that might look like, then, and they're going to interact with this equipment, then they should get a permit. And this permit is really intended to help ensure, are you sure you really want to do this energized? And it gets people's buy off, and it kind of goes through the process of, okay, yes, we really do need to do this energized, because there's two hazards associated with working on electrical equipment. One is you could get injured or killed, which is the most important. But also, if we have an unplanned shutdown because of arc flash, think of the downtime and the cost and the damaged equipment and the profitability of the company, because it might take them a day or two to get a new transformer in or a new panel. And so arc flash can really not only impact an individual, but it can impact a business. So those businesses that ask their electricians, oh, we don't want to shut that down, make sure you go ahead and do that energized for us. I mean, electricians will do that, but that's when you want to talk to those owners and say, do you want a planned shutdown or do you want an unplanned shutdown? Which one's going to cost you more? And that's kind of what I would use with electricians as they're struggling with owners that are saying, hey, you got to work on this energized. You know, maybe help the owner understand, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Because we can plan this and I can shut it down for 30 minutes. And yeah, maybe you're going to lose a little bit of profitability. But if something happens and arc flash occurs that's beyond that electrician's or maintenance employee's control, then you could be shut down for a lot longer than that. And it can be a lot more costly. Then when you start talking about those numbers, they say, oh yeah, okay, maybe we'll find some time where we can schedule you to come back and let's shut this down and do it energized. So, or de-energized, excuse me. So these are the approach boundaries that I mentioned. These are covered in the definitions. It's also covered in section 130 in detail. There's that restricted approach boundary. You know, again, these are just generic numbers. They can be any distance based off of the energy that can come off that panel. And one of the things you're going to learn in this course, if you do take it, or if you've had it before, is that 1.2 calories per centimeter squared is the energy that we're trying to protect employees from. Anything more than that. 1.2 calories is where you can get a 2nd degree burn. And so when someone does an arc flash analysis, they're trying to determine at what distance will that energy reduce to 1.2 calories. And that's what your arc flash boundary is. So if it says 5 feet, what that's saying when you're looking at this picture is that any bystander walking by while you're doing energized work, if they're 5 feet away, that someone has done a calculation to say that odds are the energy will be reduced to at least 1.2 calories at that distance. So here it is. It goes into that detail. And there's 2 ways to calculate this energy when you do this arc flash analysis. It's recommended you have a professional who understands energy and electrical equipment to do this analysis for you. It's so important to understand at what distance and what PPE level and what energy is going to come off that panel if arc flash occurs. There's 2 ways to do it. We show in the class how to use the tables. There's some tables in the booklet that can kind of show you as a company. And if you have some competent people, you can kind of figure things out and put your own labels on your equipment, because that is required by the owner to do that. Or you can use the calculations in Annex D. A good half of this standard is an annex with a whole bunch of sample documents and calculations and things. So again, half of this standard is that. But anyway, there's 2 ways to do it. We talk about that in this course. We show that just everybody needs to know that employers who own their buildings, they're the ones responsible for the label. It used to be back in the day that National Electric Code just required you to have this one sticker on a panel that said danger arc flash. And that's still required today. And so you're going to see that sticker on a lot of equipment as required by National Electric Code. But NFPA 70 asks you to take it a step further. And so you're finding a lot of companies, like even our company, we just built a new plant, an onion processing plant up in Washington. And I asked the electricians while they were installing all the electrical, they already ran the calculations. I'll say, will you put the new 70E sticker on for me that addresses these items? Because what needs to be on your stickers, you as an owner, needs to be the nominal system voltage. What's that arc flash boundary where that energy is going to be reduced to 1.2 calories per centimeter squared? And then at least one of the following of those 3 bullet points right there. What's the incident energy at 12 inches? Or what's the arc rating clothing that you need to wear on this panel? Or you can even list the site specific. I rarely see people list site specific PPE on their labels. I typically see the top 2 bullets, and the owner is responsible for it, by the way. This might be what a label would look like as opposed to the standard National Electric Code danger arc flash. This was going to have more energy. This is telling me specifically that I'm going to have 13 calories of energy. Remember that 1.2 can give you a 2nd degree burn. Can you imagine what 13 calories can do? And so that's why it's so critical to wear the right level of PPE, which I'll talk about right here at the end. That's the last portion of section 130 is, okay, we've told you how to, that you need to get a permit, and you need to do an incident energy analysis, and you need to do all that. You need to do that because that's going to tell you what PPE to put your employees in. So then it has a whole section listing about what the requirements are associated with PPE. And so it's pretty simple. There's 4 levels of PPE that national NFPA 70E requires. And it's category 1, and that's basically if you're going to be exposed anywhere up to 4 calories of energy, this is what you would wear. Arc rated clothing. It's nothing really more than what a construction worker would probably wear. It's kind of cotton clothing, long sleeve shirts, other than you can't wear t-shirts, or you shouldn't be wearing t-shirts, but you're already wearing a hard hat. So really probably the most difficult thing on here to get people to do when they're working at this level is to throw that arc shield on to protect them from potential permanent eye damage or partial or temporary blindness. Level 2 is almost the same thing. This is if you're going to be exposed up to 8 calories of energy. Again, remember 1.2 will give you a 2nd degree burn. So 8 calories is we're trying to protect you from getting, severely burned. So if that panel, and then I'm going to I'll show you all four, and then I'm going to go back to that sticker real quick. Level 3 looks more like a zoot suit here that is rated for 25 calories. And then level 4 is up to 40 calories. So those are the 4 levels of clothing that they require that you have available for different situations. So I'm just going to go back to this label. So by the end of this course, people will be able to look at a label and say, okay, that's 13.51 calories. It's not telling me the PPE I should wear, but because I've gone through the course, I know that I need to wear a level 3 PPE because that's going to protect me up to 25 cals. If I wear a level 2 PPE, which is only good for up to 8 cals and 13 calories of energy come off while I'm doing some troubleshooting on this piece of equipment, then I potentially will still be in the hospital with 3rd-degree burns and possibly even dying. So that's kind of what we cover. And I'm just going to kind of close with sharing with you just an incident. We did have an employee, an electrician, doing a remodel in Park City, working on what you're looking at is an energized 480 volt panel. Well, it's not energized when I took the photo because the lights were out, and this was after the incident. You can see the melted metal. But unfortunately, this employee, again, not taking the time to de-energize, wearing a t-shirt, not the right PPE and safety glasses, was using a non-insulated tool to put, you can see here, I don't know if you can, I can't show my mouse, but anyway, you can see right there that there's a socket wrench. He's putting on a lug nut onto a ground bus. And unfortunately, arc occurred. It caused him to catch fire. He didn't have the right PPE on, and he spent the next 2 months at the University of Utah burn unit. And it has never been the same. So anyway, that's my presentation. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, feel free if anybody does have any questions to reach out in that chat function or the Q&A function. I don't see it in there right now. If you do have questions afterwards as well, feel free to reach out to me. And I can always relay those questions on to Paul as well. I thank you so much, Paul. We appreciate that. Again, this is a course that Paul teaches. This was an overall kind of idea of what he goes over in that course. So if you're going, hey, this is something we need to understand these a little bit better. We need to make sure we're getting this information down. Attend that course. It's a really great one. Paul's going to go in a lot more into depth with you with each of these elements. Really, this was just kind of the update of what's going on in that program. So if it's something that you're interested in, make sure you're reaching out to me. We can coordinate that for on-site, or we also hold them here in-house. But thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate that. I'm going to turn it over to John here. He's going to give a little update for everybody. And we're just going to do some program updates. All right. Thank you, Paul.
All right, thank you, Cameron, and thank you, Paul. And what Paul was talking about today, very important. If you didn't know, Utah started the year 2021 with an electric shock where an employee was killed from an arc flash by pulling a string through a conduit inside an energized electrical switchgear. So, make sure we're adhering to those electrical safety standards and protocols. So. With that, I am here to talk today briefly about our August 13th annual meeting and awards luncheon. It's happening. I'm happy to announce that our Salt Lake County Sheriff has agreed to be our keynote address at this year's annual meeting, Rosie Rivera. We are still pinning down the details as to what exactly we want her to talk to all of us about, but she has agreed. We're excited to have her. And every time she's addressed our community before, it's always inspirational and very informative. So we're happy to have her. But the annual meeting, there is a lot of discussion regarding, how to deliver that meeting safely. Last week, we had several conversations and an official discussion with our board of directors as to how best to deliver the annual meeting and awards luncheon. And in those discussions, the sentiment amongst all of our board of directors is that it's important to have a live meeting, something where, the safe professionals can get together, They can be recognized for their hard work and safety achievements throughout the year. However, it was decided amongst the board of directors that the best way to proceed for 2021 is to have the awards meeting done virtually this year. So just kind of some explanation behind that decision. There are some concerns with the pandemic, with the COVID-19 pandemic. There are still some challenges there. We're very optimistic with the rate of vaccinations. However, we are safety people and feel like that we are probably the last group of professionals to have live in-person events just for safety's sakes. But in all honesty, we are just not in a financial position to subsidize this meeting like we have in the past. If you ever been to the Utah Safety Council Annual Meeting and Awards Luncheon before, it's a nice event, a sit-down lunch at the Little America Hotel. The food is great. The setting is unbelievable. And that can cost us anywhere, the Safety Council, anywhere from $12,000 to $24,000 just to subsidize that event. We're a nonprofit organization. Every penny is accounted for that comes in and that goes out. And again, the consensus that this is, coming out of the pandemic and the financial hardships that we've all endured because of the pandemic, we're just not in a position to do a live. And that coupled with the, just the ongoing pandemic, that we're going to hit pause for one more year in regards to the annual meeting. We'll do it again virtual. We've gotten better at producing these things virtual, so I think that we're all in for a good time. But patience is the key, as we know, especially with safety, not to be in a rush, be patient, just to ensure a safe outcome. And that is our plan moving forward with the 2021 Annual Meeting and Awards Luncheon, again, which will take place on August 13th with keynote speaker, Salt Lake County Sheriff Rosie Rivera. We'll give out all our awards, but it will be done in a virtual format. Disappointing, but we're happy to announce that we're 100% confident that we can afford to do it that way and that everybody will stay safe and healthy that way as well. So that's all I had, unless anybody had any questions or comments for me regarding the annual meeting. But if not, I'm going to turn it back over to Cameron.
Okay, thank you so much, John. Make sure that you're getting those those award applications put in. If you don't know where they are, make sure you're reaching out to us as well as Lisa, and she'll probably go over that a little bit more today as well. But just real quick, I want to update everybody on our occupational program, what we've got going on here over the next little while. We've got our Osha 10 construction coming up this week. We do still have a few open seats in that course. So if you've got your member benefit and you haven't used it yet, make sure you're getting somebody in there. Just because you might as well take advantage of something like that. The more that we get in there, the better the courses are, the better experience it is for most students too, the more people that we can get into these courses. We have a forklift trainer course, which is, it's going to go pretty strictly over the curriculum that Coaching Systems uses for forklift trainers. So it's going to be kind of a breakdown course. You're not learning how to operate a forklift. Really, it's just teaching you how to navigate that curriculum and share that with your attendees for your facility. We have safety inspections coming up. That's part of our advanced safety certificate. And we also have our safety training methods coming up. Those ones are both going to get kind of really into depth with your safety programs. And they're very personalized courses. The nice thing is with all these courses, I am still offering hybrid. So you can attend in person or you can attend virtually with these courses. So we can really accommodate any way we need to. Just make sure if you are getting signed up for these courses, you're reaching out to me so we can figure out how to get you all the material you'll need if we're doing any physical material. We have safety leadership coming up 5/17. If you have time for that one is going to be available web-based. It's going to be a really fantastic course. We have Rob Gardner instructing that one, and he's got a lot of interesting information that he's going to be adding to that course and just communicating, in your role in leadership with safety. We have a PPE course coming up on the 21st. It's part of our OSHA compliance series, and then we have POSH coming up. So if you have thought about that advanced safety certificate, this is definitely a time to get started with that program. If you got started in June, you could even start out with that safety training methods. You could get through that program this year. So make sure if that's something you've considered, reach out to me. The other big thing that I want to hit on for everybody is our workplace safety scholarship program. Again, this program is something that's provided through us or to us through the Labor Commission, and they want to help any Utah companies with 250 or less employees get their training that they need. And so with that one, we're looking anywhere up to a 50% scholarship for your coursework. So just get with me if you have a question about that. That's something you're interested in doing, something that you need to do right now. Those can even be applied towards on-site training. So if you're in this course and you're saying, hey, we should do an Nfpa 70 training, reach out to me and talk to me about the workplace scholarship program, and I can help you get that all navigated and get those funds where they need to go. But that's all I've got in my occupational program. We're happy to do any on-site trainings or anything like that as you need. Just reach out to me, and you can reach me really through anything here, any means, through the website, email, phone, and I'm here all the time. So reach out if you need anything at all. I'm going to turn it over to Kenzie. She's going to update us all on the emergency care program.
Perfect. Thank you, Cameron. So my name is Kenzie. I'm the emergency care manager here at the Utah Safety Council. We have some classes coming up on 5/18. This is your member benefit class. So if you have a membership and you haven't used that member benefit, this is a free course for you. So go ahead and take advantage of that. And then we have the community class on 5/22. This is just your CPR and AED only course. It's about a 3-hour course on a Saturday morning. And then we have the instructor course in June. This is starting to fill, and so we also have one coming up in August in case we don't have seats available or you're unable to attend this one. Like Cameron mentioned, the Workplace Safety Scholarship, that does apply to this program as well. And so you can use that to receive up to 50% off on those course costs as long as you are a Utah-based business with less or 250 employees or less. And then Osha does require someone to be trained in basic first aid if you are further than 4 to 6 minutes of medical care. So I've added some true false questions that I just want you to either answer in the chat or just think to yourself.
So the first one is the first thing you should do is searching your safe death is call 911. True or false?
That is false, right? So we want to check the victim. We want to see what's going on and call 911 only if it's a medical emergency. So maybe they're just asleep, taking a nap on the job. That I guess happens sometimes. Okay. Second one, put ice on a burn that covers less than 20% of the victim's body. So that one is false. We never put ice on a burn. We want to use running water. And then lastly, when performing chest compressions, compress at the rate of 100 to 120 compressions per minute. And that is true. So if you weren't sure on those, you maybe second guessed yourself on some of the true or false, join our first aid class. We will go through all of this. We'll teach you all about it. And then the reasonings why, right? So that is May 18th. Come join us. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to Megan.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Megan. I'm the manager at the Nfpa Refinery Training Program. Let's see, I'm just getting my computer all set up here so I can see what's going on. We do have, we are of course still offering Nfpa Refinery classes we have for the past year. We never stopped. Our Nfpa classes are still just web-based. We are hoping to start to see you guys in person again here hopefully this summer, but we don't know with us still being in the moderate category, with us still requiring masks here in Salt Lake, with the numbers still what they are, we're just finding that it's a lot easier and a lot safer to just continue to do the web-based classes. We actually have a web-based Nfpa refresher class going on right now. I can see everybody, they all seem happy and they're all engaging. So it's been working out just fine. So we're going to continue to do that just to keep everybody up on their certifications. And then, like I said, hopefully we'll be able to see you guys in person before the end of the year. So we do have those Nfpa surface annual refreshers every Monday, and we will be adding classes if those fill up. We do add more classes just to make sure that we can get everybody in. We have 2 new minor surface classes coming up One is this week, Wednesday through Friday, and then the next one is going to be the 19th through the 21st. And of course, with that new minor training, you are required to do an MSHA Introduction to Work Environment tour. So for the Rio Tinto contractors who take their new minor training from us, we are offering those tours for the Rio Tinto contractors. And that is, of course, the Saturday after every new minor class. We are also doing private classes by request. We are doing those both web-based and in person. So we have a lot of companies that they absolutely love the web-based also because they are getting their entire company on our training plan, no matter where they are, you know, back east, up in Canada, they're just getting everybody on the Utah Safety Council plan. So we are still doing private classes, whether at, you know, here at your guys' site or web-based, we are happy to do it all. If you're interested in the underground, I don't have that up on this slide right now, but we do have underground classes coming up in June. Those are up on our website, and please contact me if you have any questions about that. And my contact information is on that screen right there, as it will be on the next slide too for the refinery classes. There we go. So we are, of course, doing all of our refinery safety classes in person as they require proctored tests and everything else. We're just not able to do those web-based. So MSHA is web-based, refinery we're doing in person. Basic Orientation Plus, we have those on Tuesdays, May 11th and May 25th. And of course, we're adding dates for those as need. Also, I know that sometime, you know, just here about a month ago, we were really crazy. It was kind of hard to get into those classes. We were adding classes as quickly as possible, but so we're just going to keep meeting the need for that. If you've already had the Basic Orientation Plus class and you just need a refresher, we are offering that in our computer lab Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays by appointment. Go ahead and give us a call for that. And then UITC, we alternate BOP and UITC on the Tuesdays. So UITC, we have 2 classes coming up this month also, and one is actually tomorrow, and we do still have seats open for that. So if you're going to be working over at Big West, Chevron, Silver Eagle, or Marathon, then they require UITC. So go ahead and sign up for that class. And then Basic Orientation Plus, of course, is if you're going to be working with Holly. Computer Lab for any of those site-specific trainings that you might need is open Monday through Friday. Again, by appointment, just go ahead and give us a call and we can get you signed up for that. So that is all that I had, and I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Nicole.
Thanks, Megan. Nicole here from Traffic Safety. Just wanted to remind you to schedule your employees for their defensive driving. We can customize this class for you. We can either come out to your facility or we can do a Zoom web-based course as well. So just remember that the most dangerous part of an employee's workday is when they're on the road. Just one work-related motor vehicle collision can affect your organization's productivity and finances, but more importantly, the health and the future of your employees. Training is also available for an employee of your choice to become certified and to teach your staff. Just email me at nrilk@utahsafetycouncil.org. For the month of May, the Traffic Safety Program would like to highlight motorcycle safety awareness. This affects everybody because we're all on the roads and we all drive amongst other motorcyclists. So this year's slogan is "Get up to speed on motorcycles." Motorcyclists have the same rights and privileges as any other motor vehicle operators on the road. In 2019, there were 5,014 motorcyclists killed on in a traffic crash, a decrease from 2018, which was 5,038, so 24 less. We can do better. Those deaths accounted for 14% of the total highway fatalities that year. Even the smallest monetary lapse in a vehicle's driver awareness can result in a death of an unseen motorcyclist. Safe riding practices and cooperation from all road users will help reduce the number of fatalities and injuries on our nation's highways. I pulled some data from our Utah Highway Safety Crash Data Report and found that the top driving contributing factors in motorcycle-related accidents was failed to yield right away. Here are some tips for motorists. If you are turning an intersection or your view of oncoming traffic is partially obstructed, Wait until you can see around the obstruction. Significantly scan for all roadway users, pedestrians, bicyclists, motorcyclists alike, and proceed with caution. Slow your decision-making process down at intersections. Size also counts against motorcyclists when it comes to blind spots. Motorcyclists can be easily hidden in a vehicle's blind spots. Always look for motorcyclists by checking your mirrors and blind spots before switching to another lane or traffic. And always signal your intentions before changing lanes or merging with traffic. This allows motorcyclists to anticipate your movement and to find a safer lane, or a safe lane position. And do not be fooled by the flashing turning signal on a motorcycle. It may not be self-counseling, and the motorcyclist may have forgotten to turn it off. Wait to be sure the rider is going to turn before you proceed. And then last, allow more following distance, 3 to 4 seconds when following a motorcyclist. This gives the motorcycle rider more time to maneuver or stop in an emergency. Motorcycle riders may suddenly need to change speed or adjust their lane positions to avoid hazards such as potholes, gravel, wet or slippery surfaces, or pavement seams, railroad crossing, and grooved pavements. So just be safe out there. We got summer out and there's a lot more motorcyclists out there. So for more information on motorcycle safety, visit www.trafficsafetymarketing.gov. And now I will turn the time over to Lisa.
That's great. Thank you so much, Nicole. Also, thank you to Paul. That was really interesting. I've never been through any Nfpa stuff or learned anything about a lot of that electrical stuff. So that was a really good overview for those of us who aren't as familiar. My job right now, I'm Lisa Christopherson, and I'm the what am I today? It's a Monday. I'm the membership manager here at the Utah Safety Council. And what I am going to do is just quickly go over what upcoming classes are membership benefit classes, and then kind of what the most used membership benefits are that people have been using lately, and kind of just what's coming up so that you can be aware and be ready and make sure you're signed up for what you need to be signed up for. And everything's on your calendar as it should be. So the first thing that I've got on here is our OSHA 10 stuff, right? So one of the greatest benefits that we offer is a free OSHA 10 course every year for every organization. So you can send somebody one year, you can maybe even send somebody else the next year. That is such a good benefit. So we have the general industry and the construction. So the next OSHA 10 for construction, I think Cameron mentioned it, but it's the 6th and 7th, and then the general industry is the 15th and 16th. So like I think it was mentioned before, but I will go ahead and follow up this Start with Safety with an email. We'll send out the presentation that Paul had, so you can kind of watch that and then go through this, and then I'll include some links. So I'll include some links to be able to sign up for this course. We also saw a great question in the chat. She wanted, and I'm so sorry I don't remember off the top of my head who it was, but to show that slide with the information about the regulation stuff. So I will show that, and we'll also put a link in there for that next NFPA class. So meanwhile, back to the OSHA 10. So those are coming up. Make sure that if you haven't taken advantage of that, make sure you do so. The first aid, CPR, and AED training, we have that next one coming up on the 18th. Kenzie did a great job of thinking of a couple of things that, you know, we think we know. Oh yeah, I'm a safety person. I know all these great things for first aid. I know exactly what to do. But as we all know, we need to be constantly reminded things are changing. We need to be refreshed, and there's always something to learn. I've never sat through any of our classes or been to any of our webinars where I haven't learned at least one new thing. So take advantage of that. It's really important and critical for your safety program. Okay, the next benefit that I'm excited to talk about is our safety management systems for business. So this is one of my favorite benefits to talk about, because a lot of times The reason why people become members of the Utah Safety Council is because they are in charge of safety in some way, or they have some type of safety responsibility. And sometimes, you know, it kind of is assigned at the end, or sometimes, you know, it's a whole big thing. So the safety management systems for business is good because it's just a real basic overview of, you know, kind of how to attack that safety program, how to manage that, how to kind of break it down and kind of, you know, a high level overview of what it needs to be. And so it can give you a great place to start. It can give you a great place to determine what your next steps are going to be. It can be a great place to just kind of validate what you're doing and make sure you don't need any of those tweaks. But this is definitely one that I would recommend. And like Cameron mentioned before, these classes are hybrid, so you can zoom into this one, and it's just half a day. I think it's 8 to 12. You can zoom into this and kind of have a conversation. It's very conversational and open, and here's what we do, but let's kind of come up with a good overview. But it's one of my favorites. So please, if you haven't done this one, make sure that that's something that is on your radar. So sustaining and contributing members receive this course for free, and they get 2 attendees per organization, right? So if you are not a member and wanted to attend this course, it's $160 per attendee. So I mean, right there, you're saving over $300 just on that. So if you are not a contributing member or a sustaining member, but you're still interested, we can definitely either upgrade your membership, or you can get the member discount, and you can attend that course for $112. So, so yes, just respond to the email that I send out, but I will make sure to include a link to that course as well. Absolutely, one of the best, and we don't teach it often. I think maybe twice a year, I think is what Cameron said. So please don't forget about that one. Okay, so start with safety next month. I'm really excited about this one because it's my turn, and we are going to be talking about National Safety Month. So June is National Safety Month, and there's a lot of information, a lot of great resources. It's a National Safety Council program, but as we're a chapter, we really like to honor that and celebrate it and help our members celebrate that as well, and help them have the resources to make sure that they are using National Safety Month as a platform to communicate and keep the conversation going about safety, right? So this is going to be a really good one in June. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk a little bit about kind of what National Safety Month is and kind of how we can observe that and use those resources. Also in June, what happens is we've got our friends over at Workers' Compensation Fund. They host or plan a workplace safety week. And so they have that going on the 3rd week of June. So since we're both doing a lot of this stuff, we've invited them as well to come to this Start with Safety. So we're going to talk about what we can do for National Safety Month, and then our guests from WCF, they'll talk for a few minutes about how we can observe Workplace Safety Week as well, and provide us with some resources and ideas on that. So I'm really excited to have some of our friends participate in that. So you're getting all excited. I have 2. I thought it was only one Start with Safety, and then in July it's heat emergencies. I mean, that's gonna be hot, right? No, that'll be a really good one, very timely heat. And then 8-2, it says annual awards follow-up. I don't know if that sounds super exciting, but actually what we're going to do is follow up on some of those safety awards, and maybe see how those companies did so great that they were able to be nominated and win these awards, right? What are some, just kind of we'll follow up on what they did to be so wonderful, and maybe hear about some of those more particular stories. I always like to learn about the Lifesaver Award and what was that about, and we don't get a chance to go into a lot of that stuff during the actual award ceremony. So we want to kind of hit some highlights and maybe dig a little deeper on some of those. So that will be the plan for August. And then on all of those Start with Safeties, we kind of follow up at the end. We each take a minute to update everyone on our programs and kind of give an overview of what's going on with the council and what's coming up. So that will be the plan for the next few Start with Safeties. And again, I'll include a link to make sure you follow up with that on our follow-up email. Okay, so my last slide here is just a little couple things about member benefits and how you can use that over the next couple of weeks or use those benefits to your advantage, right? So we just talked about the NFPA stuff, and we heard Paul kind of talk about the class, and we do teach that class. He teaches that class. And that is coming up as mentioned. So I will make sure to include a link to sign up for that. But that is July 15th, 8 to 12. And like Cameron said, it can be the Zoom thing. So you're like in and participating, but you're from your own area so that, you know, you don't have to commute here and back and deal with all of that. So it's a great option. It's a $275 course, and your membership benefit gives that to you for $192. So a great savings on a really great class. Cameron is also telling me, thank you, Cameron, this is really important. It includes that standard book, right? So that's huge. Like, you know, you learn about it, and to have that manual, to have that book, oh, I'm a book lover and a manual lover, so that's important too. And that will include that. So good point. Something else I wanted to mention when we were talking about membership benefits and how to use those coming up. One of the things that I don't know if I want to say I was surprised about, but I was really excited about to hear kind of the big savings that we get on for our members on that forklift instructor course, right? So I know forklift is funny, and everybody has their own type of forklift in their own location. You have your own program, but we do teach that forklift instructor course, and it's a great course. It's a really good way to figure out how to navigate through the forklift compliance within your organization. And it's $800 for that course and all the materials, but your membership is going to save you $250 or $240. So that puts you down at $560. So that's a huge savings on that course. We've had people buy memberships just because of that course with all of that information. And then once you're a member and you kind of go through that course and that need is determined, I listen to him help members all the time, you know, now that they've got the material and the instructor, you know, how can they save money on their training? And he's got all sorts of great resources to help you do that in the best way. So I wanted to kind of give a shout out on that one. That one is coming up too, and I will send a link, and I didn't write down the exact date, but it is coming up, and I'll put the link on there. Cameron says the 10th, June 10th or July? No, this month. Okay, so coming up soon, next Monday. That's why it's important. So yes, thank you. We will ensure that there's a link as well on that. Okay, the safety awards. So John mentioned before that we've been going back and forth, and the board was able to meet, and we are still committed to making it an amazing experience, and we want to continue to ensure that our membership organizations have the opportunity to apply and to get those awards. You know, it's unfortunate we're not going to be able to meet in person, but we still need to get the awards, right? So the best way to find this information, if you haven't seen it yet, we've put out some emails, but if you go to our website, click on membership, and then under membership services, there's a category that says safety award applications. Now the link that I send, it takes you to membership. It doesn't take you all the way to the awards. You actually have to go to click on that, but it goes through all of the award categories. It gives a description of each award. It talks about, you know, who's eligible, how to apply for that award, and it gives you everything that you need to know. So there are several awards, and the applications are due June 30th. So I know that seems like a long time away, but it's really not. It's coming up so quickly. So make sure you jump on that. And then one of our applications, I think it's just one, but there's a time frame for the seatbelt award. So you actually have to kind of do a little tracking, you know, of your seatbelt. So that takes 30 days. So you've got to get on it this month. So that's completed by the time that those applications are due at the end of June. So don't forget, it's not going to, you know, it's something that we do with our members every year. It doesn't cost you extra, you know, money for the trophy or any hidden fees or anything there. But it's a great experience. And I have one of our lovely awards just sitting right here. So I thought I'd show you this one. We were supposed to take down and deliver in person, but it's been it's been a little crazy this past year, but this one, I mean, this just kind of gives you an idea. They're really nice if you haven't seen them. This one is our Professional Driver of the Year award, and it was for Jan Korenberg at Barney Trucking, right? So I just wanted to show that because it's really nice, and there's several companies actually get more than one. So please make sure that you are not missing that opportunity to have a trophy or have something tangible to, you know, share and show to your team, to celebrate the efforts and all the things that you've done to make safety important in your workplace. So that's the awards. Quickly on streaming, I know I kind of talk about streaming every time, but I logged in on Friday and thought my world was going to end because it looked different. So don't panic if you get back into streaming and it looks a little different. I think they've just changed kind of the look and feel of it. So that's okay. If you're not using streaming at all, and even if you're like, oh, I don't have time to go and watch a bunch of safety videos, we say streaming, but really it's kind of like a whole kit, right? So I did a little search for Nfpa and in our streaming site, and we had 19 different courses that you could kind of choose from. I mean, it's got courses kind of for everyone. Yes, you have outlets in your facility. You kind of need even the basics. Here's that. And then it goes all the way up into like construction and mining and all sorts of stuff. So so those are some resources as well. The one I clicked on and opened also had an instructor guide, and it was 8 pages. And so it just kind of talked through. It was actually published in 2020 for the 2021 updates, but it did just kind of give an instructor guide. So as a trainer or a safety manager, you can kind of go through and make sure that you're hitting the right points with the right people that you need to. So so there's the deal on streaming. And again, if you're not using it, make sure you at least check it out and look at the supplement materials, even if you're not necessarily needing the videos. Okay, and then the last one there on my list was the consulting. So I had mentioned our membership benefit, that Safety Management Systems for Business. And that is such a great course. And we always kind of say the consulting is alongside this. So the consulting is a benefit for our sustaining members, and they can have a 2-hour walkthrough every year. But we also can do very discounted, we can do other virtual types of consulting, but and our members will receive big discounts on that. But it's such a good idea to follow up with that course, that Safety Management Systems for Business, or even, you know, before that course to kind of have somebody other than people in your organization just look at your facility, kind of see what your issues are, and just help talk through those. Sometimes it's just nice to have a different perspective. So if you've never done safety consulting, or, you know, oh, COVID, they're probably not visiting, or, you know, for whatever reason, it's such a good opportunity, good time to just maybe take advantage of that, or just get more information. You know, we can always have a conversation about it. So that one is one that I wanted to include on that list. So that is basically all I had. Our last little lovely slide here is my cute, adorable team. They are amazing, and they work really hard and really care about what they do. So if you have questions or issues, or need a little guidance, or just want to talk through something, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll include our contact information here. But yeah, this is our group, and we hope that you enjoyed this month's Start with Safety. Again, I just appreciate Paul. I'm really appreciative of my team that we get to do this every month. I think it's a great thing. And yeah, we will see you next month, June 1st, I believe, at 10 a.m. where we will talk about National Safety Month and Workplace Safety Week. So we'll chat next month. Thanks, and have a safe month.